What is good, everybody, man? Hoping y'all had a good Monday. I know it's probably the worst day of the week for most people, man, but I hope y'all had a good Monday. And I wasn't gonna have a lot of time later in the week to do a live stream or a mailbag, so I figured I'd push it up to Monday night and go ahead and knock this thing out because we have some big storylines we need to talk about, and I thought it was a great opportunity to come on here, get you guys to call in and get y'all's opinion on some of the things that happened over the weekend and into late last week. And we're going to talk about a little bit about the winners and losers of the NFL Combine, more winners, and it's really going to be FCS focused at first because there were a lot of FCS stars that absolutely put on a show over there in Indianapolis. I mean, all weekend, any tweet you saw from the NFL Network, any tweet you saw from Next Gen Stats, the RAS rating, whatever you want to use, it was all about the FCS this weekend, from Jacoby Durant to Trevor Penning to Troy Anderson to Christian Watson. Man, those guys showed out, and it was a really good weekend for FCS athletes. And I was really, really impressed with a lot of people. And then I'm gonna skip over. I'm just gonna let you know. I'm probably gonna skip over the spring storylines. I have an idea that I want to apply later on in the week. I'm gonna have some special guests join me for that one, so stay tuned for the announcement on that. We're gonna have multiple special guests for that spring practice episode. So we're going to skip over the second topic. And then, of course, we have to talk Grambling. Finally hiring an offensive coordinator. They promote John Simon, former wide receiver coach, to offensive coordinator. I have not seen many people talk about this, shockingly. And so we're going to get into why and really why it's a controversial decision in some other regards. And so we'll all talk about that tonight. But let's get into the NFL Combine this weekend. A lot of people came in wanting to see the obvious players, the obvious first round draft picks, those stars. They wanted to see Kenny Pickett. They wanted to see the main guys, Jordan Davis, who put on a show. He's a winner, man. For Jordan Davis to be as big as he is and run, and if you haven't seen the video, just go type in Jordan Davis 40 time. And for him to be as big as he is, to move as fast as he was I still don't believe my eyes. I was talking to a Jackson State player's parent last night, and he was like, I've watched more football than you could ever imagine. I've never seen a guy that big do what Jordan Davis did. But the FCS put on a show, man. What's good, Ralph? Appreciate you tuning in. And I just want to go over and highlight some guys who I thought absolutely just put on for the FCS. And I'm going to start with, probably, in my opinion, the best FCS prospect in the country, Mr. Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa. He measured in at 6'7", 325, guys, and had the second fastest 40 time of any offensive lineman with a 4.89, was top 10 in the broad jump with a 9.3, and also led the offensive lineman in the three cone drill at a 7.25. And so it just shows, and it really backs up the film. And I'm going to do a film breakdown later this week. If you haven't seen my Troy Anderson one, that's who I kicked it off with. I'm going to do a film breakdown on Trevor Penning later this week. And on the film, he just looks so athletic. He's able to bend, he's able to move, he's very fluid. And I think this weekend you really saw that with his three cone drill, his 40 time. The guy is just a freak athlete for being 6'7", 325. At the Senior Bowl, he showed some aggressiveness, and I really just like the mean streak that he has in him. Him and the kid from Ohio State that I'm forgetting his name right now, they almost came to blows multiple times. And he just has that attitude of a really good offensive lineman. So Trevor Penning, my first winner this weekend. And then moving down, man, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on him. Go check out my first film breakdown that I dropped today on Troy Anderson, but he has to be a winner at the linebacker spot, guys. 6'3" and a half, 243, and runs a 4.42, which was first overall for linebackers this weekend. A 4.4 for a guy who's 6'4", almost 250 pounds, is just remarkable. I mean, that guy can move like none other. He has experience at running back. He's played quarterback. Now he's a linebacker prospect. And I think this weekend he really improved his stock. He also had a top 5 broad jump with a 10.8 there. And if you go watch my film breakdown, you'll just see how good he was on the field drills as well there at the NFL Combine. And then I got to go to the safeties and the cornerbacks, man. The DBs, this is a DB event ultimately. And Zion McCollum, I don't know how many of people who are listening know that name if you're not a Sam Houston fan, but Zion McCollum is a cornerback, a nickel corner, really, for Sam Houston State. And he arguably had the best NFL combine of anybody who went to Indianapolis this past weekend. This kid measured in at 6'2, 199, according to the measurements I have right here. He had the third fastest 40 at a 4.33. He had the second best vertical, a 39 and a half. He had the first ranked broad jump at in an 11.0, had the number one overall. I'm talking about any position, guys. He had the best overall three cone drill draw, 3 cone drill time. My bad, 6.48. That was number one in the entire combine, and had the number one rank of all positions at the 20-yard shuttle at a 3.94. Zion McCollum put on an absolute show, and he went from being one of those guys who was probably going to be undrafted and or right at the tail end of the draft to potentially playing himself into a day 2 pick, maybe an early day 3 pick coming out of Sam Houston State. Zion McCollum probably had the best FCS combine of anybody out there. And then another guy I want to highlight, of course, my guy Marquis Bell out of FAMU had an excellent day. Had the seventh fastest 40, a 4.41 at 6'2", 212. Had the fourth best vertical at a 36 and a half, and had a top 8 broad jump at a 10.3. Now, out of everyone who did the 20-yard shuttle, he was last out of the 6 guys who ran it, but the 6 guys who ran it all were extremely athletic, and I would imagine he probably wouldn't have been last out of all the safeties at the combine. It just happened that he was right there at the tail end when people were kind of picking and choosing what drills to run. But Marquis Bell had an absolutely great day too. So those are some of the guys that I really wanted to highlight. And then also just an honorable mention, EJ Perry. Now, if you don't know who that is, Brown quarterback, and he had the second best 40, the second best vert, and the second best broad jump out of all the quarterbacks. But on the field, he was throwing lasers across the field. He was very accurate, very precise with his throwing this weekend. And EJ Perry had a big week, not only because of what he did on the field, but also what he did off the field. I don't know if you guys saw this, but cameras caught EJ after the combine. So this is after this kid worked out, went through interviews and everything. He went along the sidelines after the combine and was caught picking up other players' trash, getting stuff organized, and helping the cleaning crew clean the field. And so for me, EJ Perry, just on that alone, really impressed people. A lot of NFL scouts said that they have never seen a prospect stay after they got done with everything to help clean up the field from other players. So EJ Perry really got him some, I would say, some brownie points, I guess, per se, in terms of what he's doing in terms of off the field work. He killed his interviews from everything I can tell. And so look for EJ Perry to be an honorable mention here for my winners and losers from the NFL Combine. What's good, All Script, man? Make sure to go subscribe to All Script's channel, man. He's been gone for a minute, but I know the live streams are coming back this week, so you got to be tuned in. And get into this Grambling hire. This is really what I wanted to live stream about. And I wanted to kind of do it one of two ways, to be honest with you guys. I wanted to offer up who John Simon is. What is he bringing to Grambling, and what was the why is some people saying it's really controversial, and the fact that he's not even really hired yet. He still also has to be approved by the board of, I forgot what board they are, but in Louisiana, they have to approve the hire of him because of his Title IX allegations stemming from his Memphis time. Real quick, real talk. Jacoby Durant did great too. I think he had one of the faster 40 times. I mean, he put on a show. I think it was like a 4.38 reel. And then on top of that, Jacoby Durant had the fifth highest athleticism score according to next gen stats for cornerback. So Jacoby Durant had a huge thing. Yeah, the ULS board, the Louisiana system, they still have to approve John Simon. And so before we get into the why I think this is a ridiculous thing that has happened. So he coached at Memphis, and that's his most recent stint. He was a passing game coordinator and was the assistant wide receiver coach. And when you look at what Memphis was doing, it was all Mike Norvell's system. Mike Norvell called the plays. Mike Norvell designed the offense. John Simon recruited the wide receivers and helped Mike Norvell install like it was a passing game install system, pretty much is what he was doing at Memphis. Now, they did really good. I mean, over 4,000 yards through the air. They ranked seventh nationally in total yards, yards per completion. They were top 10. Efficiency, they were top 10. Touchdowns, top 20. And they ranked top 10 in scoring offense and total offense when Simon was there. So he's got a track record of being a successful coach. And so there's no knock on him in terms of credibility because he's done it at the highest level. He comes from a strong coaching background with the Mike Norvell system. And so I don't have any problems with him on the field coaching. But my issue comes from the backlash that you got for hiring Art Briles, which everyone knew was going to happen after what happened with Baylor, him covering up sexual assault allegations and things like that. But you figured you make him step away. You would figure you want to hire somebody with as clean of a slate as humanly possible, and you go out and internally promote John Simon, who had to leave Memphis to stop an investigation into his own sexual harassment allegations. So he's already in trouble with Title IX, and you just got done not being able to face the backlash of an Art Briles hire, but now you want to go out and hire a guy who has been already accused of sexually harassing women at Memphis. And I've seen the SWAT groups. Listen, I did my research, and there were a lot of people saying all he did was text somebody an inappropriate joke, but that is not true. That the complaints that happened were literally hidden in the report that the media got because the woman did not want to be publicly identified and everything, come out into the light. So you can't just assume what happened. And so for me, I want to be real careful here and say, what was Grambling thinking here? Because I thought the whole reason that everyone got wanted to get rid of Art Briles was because of because quote unquote is what I was told on calls and what other shows had is they didn't want him negatively influencing the players in his locker room. That was what it was, and that they said he didn't deserve a second chance. And I'm not comparing what Simon did with what Briles did, but what I'm saying is, where's the outrage of how is this guy going to negatively impact the locker room or the players? I thought that was the whole concern there, that we needed someone who was a good role model for the players. If that was the case, and that's what Doug Williams' problem was, that's what all these media outlets problems were. Where's the outrage? The only people who have reported on this hire are HBCU Game Day and some local news stations. And then I think New York Post or Times today posted an article about the Louisiana board possibly not confirming the hire of Simon. If we're looking for a clean slate, this wasn't the hire you had to make. Like, the thing I'm wondering is, am I missing something? Was the outrage for something else? Like, what was the whole point of the outrage forcing one person out just for you to promote somebody who actually got accused of doing the thing that you wanted Art Briles to step out for? So for me, I want a statement from Grambling, because really and truly, all he said was, "Hey, we're gonna promote John Simon." He didn't give me any background on Briles. He didn't give me any insight to the process. Doug Williams hasn't said nothing. Well, where's the outrage here? If that was the case, or was there an internal or alternative motive for the outrage that you were given? Um, so damn, he said, "Man, you're too much. He will be the OC. He just needed a body to fill the OC." I agree. Um, Really and truly, Hugh Jackson's calling the plays. John Simon has not been like a bona fide OC anywhere. He's been a passing game coordinator. Him and Hugh are gonna work hand in hand in building that offense. And so what I think they had to do is they couldn't really go out and hire somebody from the outside, which is what I mentioned last live stream. If you brought somebody in from the outside, there could have been a conflict of interest in how the offense needed to be installed, because you had Browse on campus for multiple weeks installing an offense that now he's out. So you had to have somebody who was in there and knew what was going on. That way you didn't have to go through like the catching up process that you would have if you would have hired somebody from the outside. So I'm not surprised he internally promoted somebody. My thing was, is why him? And why would you internally promote somebody who is facing the same problems that you just exited Browse out the back door for? Because you exited Browse, who covered up sexual assault, which is a horrible, and he's been punished for it. He's been out of the game since 2013 for a guy who actually was the one sexually harassing women. So my point is I don't see the trade off there. He said, if I'm Browse, I'm suing Grambling for racial discrimination. Um, let's see. Eric Barrier would have been the best FCS QB. Doug Williams ain't said nothing. It was ESP. It was the ESPN hit job that got Browse pushed out. I'm wondering if ESPN is going to pick up the Simon transfer. I mean, probably not, because he doesn't have as big of a name. But my thing is how does Grambling feel about this? All the alumni, supposedly, all the Doug Williams, the former players that spoke out against Art Browse, are we not speaking out against Simon, or were you just not happy that Browse was hired and you wanted somebody who you approved of to be the OC? Now that's my big question. And listen, you got some call in numbers on the top left. Really want to hear what people think about this situation. I mean, do you like? What was the point of forcing Browse out if you were just going to hire somebody with the same Title IX problems as Browse had? And that's my wondering with Grambling. Grambling having the most distracting all season in the SWAC. This is not a good start to the Hugh Jackson era. It's really not. This is their third. Let me put that in perspective. This is their third offensive coordinator since Hugh Jackson was hired. The first hire leaves Grambling for the NFL unexpectedly. Can't really fault him for that. It happens. That's the merry-go-round that is coaching. Second, you force Browse out the back door after you couldn't take the backlash. Then three, you internally promote a wide receivers coach in the dead of night that has a shady background too. So that's three hires, and then you question on two of them the whole process behind the hiring and firing of what happened behind the scenes. Because Grambling still, we're sitting here on March 7th. Grambling still hasn't released a statement. We haven't heard nothing from Grambling. We heard a little bit from Hugh after spring practice. Where was the planning? Where was controlling the narrative? Where was anything? Where was the press release? We have two offensive coordinator hires without a press release? Without a press release. I got a caller. Let's see. What's up, caller? You're live.
What's up, Coach? What's up, Blue?
What's up, man?
Yeah, man. I was just saying. I just wanted to say, we don't know the whole story on the situation with John Simon because it's still ongoing. So we can't just say, that is a bad hire just yet, because everything's speculation.
Yeah, I think Memphis closed the investigation though. Once he left, I'm pretty sure the investigation was closed because they can't formally investigate somebody who's not an employee of the school, because the investigation was going through the Title IX at Memphis. So once he stepped away, I think they closed the investigation according to HBCU Game Day.
Yeah, I understand that part, but still, it's still speculation, man. Because think about it, with everything that happened at Baylor, it was just one football player that was falsely accused, and he missed out on making it to the NFL. And
Right.
it has people that have been falsely accused of stuff. So we can't just sit there and jump on it like that and say, oh, it's the same thing as Art Browse. We know what Art Browse actually did.
Oh yeah.
We don't know.
Oh yeah,
Go ahead.
and I want to make that very clear. I'm not saying what Simon did was any worse or anything. I want to try to compare the two. I'm just saying it looked like, in my opinion, you didn't want to face the board. Like, the board probably wasn't going to approve Browse anyway. I think we both kind of agree on that. The board was probably going to pick him apart. But it looked like you had a chance to kind of correct it, but what it looks like to me almost is like you kind of used up like maybe we can give a second chance here. Like, you kind of used that on Browse. Like, you used your one free pass card, and you really needed somebody who the media couldn't pick apart in this situation, if that makes sense. That's kind of what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, but I don't think the media are gonna pick apart because they talked about it a little bit, then left it alone. See, Art Browse, no matter where he go, these people from especially ESPN, they're gonna jump all over Art Browse no matter where he go.
Oh yeah.
So his name is just toxic. Period. Because they ain't gonna let Art Browse have a chance to coach anywhere.
I agree with that. I mean, I mean, that's why he had to go coach. I think he coached in Italy for a year. He had to get completely away from the media.
So he went to Canada and they fought him to Canada. Yeah, he couldn't go nowhere without them following him. His name top this club, but there's another part of that with the Art Browse situation nobody looks at. Baylor did not have no Title IX person.
Right.
So who he supposed to report to if they ain't have nobody for Title IX working?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know Art Browse, quote unquote, was the fall man at some point. So he did wrong. I mean, listen, Art Browse is not innocent in the slightest, but Baylor as a whole was not, like you said, not Title IX compliant. So they didn't have a head of Title IX. There were just university problems all around. And so, like, I think
what?
Yeah, because I mean, the president got fired, the AD got fired, Art Browse got fired, the whole football staff got fired. I mean, everybody.
Campus police was involved with it.
Exactly. So, because I mean, my thing with the whole Art Browse thing is if the AD and the president got other jobs, and one of them has a job at Liberty, I believe, which is supposed to be like a Christian university. You know what I mean? Like, Baylor's a Christian university.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like the AD at Liberty. And so if everybody else involved in the situation got a second chance, why doesn't Browse get a second chance? Because I mean, I think not coaching from 2013 to 2022, that's a steep ride.
Yeah. But ESPN ain't gonna let him get no job nowhere. Not the women at ESPN. They is not let him get nowhere. They is not letting that ride.
Yeah, and my thing is you've just like the whole process. I mean, if you were cool with Simon being the OC, I just feel like you took a bunch of unnecessary bullets at this point. Because I mean, you took like a whole clip after hiring Art Browse, and then you took another one for firing him, but not really firing him, but like kind of backdooring him. Because I mean, he said that it was kind of a joint decision to step away. You took a whole load for that because then he goes on Jason Whitlock's thing and pretty much puts everything out in the air. And we still ain't got a statement from you. We still don't have an official press release, and it's like, man, I really would like to see Grambling just not sit on its hands and be proactive. And I said this last live stream, I just need them to control their own narrative. Stop letting everyone tell your story for you.
What they try to do, they try to ease it in. Because you saw how they did it. They leaked it, and then they had them do an interview with the local news station.
Mm-hmm.
And it just didn't work out. And then people, they say the women on campus was protesting it.
Yep. I mean, and that's my thing is like, you had them on campus for 2 weeks installing the offense, working with the team before you announced it. How was that approved by anybody? Like
I said, they try to ease them in.
Yeah, and that's the only reason I had a problem with what Doug Williams and them did. If you're so big and influential in this university, how was he on campus for 2 weeks without getting spotted?
I'll put it like this, Doug Williams probably been known, and he probably been voiced his opinion, and then somebody from ESPN came up to him and asked him, or not necessarily ESPN, whoever came up to him, some reporter, and asked him a question about it because he's a known person.
Yep. I really do think the ESPN backlash, like the comment said, were the biggest things, man. But I just, for me, you face the same potential problem. He doesn't have a big of a name, like you said, so the media probably won't pick him apart. But you put yourself in the like crosshairs of the same problem for a downgrade in coaching. Because I mean, John Simon's a good coach. I highlighted that, but he's not an Art Browse in terms of designing offenses. I'm sorry. Art Browse is on a whole nother level. So you downgraded yourself for what now?
Well, I'll put it like this: with everything that's going on, that's why the board did that. I'm surprised dude that LSU got a job because of the situation with him.
Oh yeah. I 1000% agree with you on that one, man. I mean, listen, man, there's kind of like double standards running all around college football. There's some universities that can get away
Oh yeah,
with some stuff and others that can't. It's just, like my biggest thing now.
Brawl's name is the biggest.
Oh yeah, Brawl's thing's the biggest, and it's just, man, like was there no game plan here? Like no game plan whatsoever. Like we're gonna give them to the local news to announce the biggest OC hire of the all season. Let's just be real. Bryles getting a job was the biggest OC hire of the all season, regardless of any level of college football. That was bigger than any other
Yeah.
school hiring an OC, and you gave it to like the local Channel 6 news to make the announcement. How was that the strategy? And then he went on there looking disheveled and like he was locked in a basement for like 10
Oh,
years.
oh, check this out though. Check this out. He may not can't get a job, but wasn't his son on staff when all that happened too?
Yeah, I think his son was a grad assistant, if I'm not mistaken, and now he's the OC at Arkansas, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. It's just only him. His name is only toxic.
Yep. Man, I am all for you, man. I'm all for you. But hey, man, thank you for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
All right, man.
Let's see. I'm sorry. There must be more talent than Grambling selected. Why are you back here? This is a lot of consistent bad decision making. We should get back on track. Yeah, they made a big stink about him getting to Liberty. Ian McCall, yeah, the former Baylor All-D Liberty hire. People were pissed until they moved up to FBS. All that. That's what I'm saying, man. Listen, winning and success are the two things. I mean, those are memory erasers. They're like those things off of Men in Black. You just erase everyone's memory as soon as winning and success happens. I will do, Coach Simmons, man. I'll text him after the live stream. We'll do. They probably figured hiring Bryles was the only way to beat the likes of JSU, FAM, Alabama A&M, and Alcorn. I'm just saying. Probably so, man. Listen, the SWAC is on the way up. I think there's a lot of pressure on a lot of these universities to win now, or at least be competitive now. I'll say that at least be competitive now. You're looking at what Jackson State's doing. They kicked it off with hiring, Coach Sanders, and then they got an NFL ready staff, and then Willie Simmons' staff is right up there too. Willie Simmons is a great coach. Connell Maynard making the moves he's making. I mean, and then of course Fred McNair is the name speaks for itself, but there's pressure now in the SWAC to win. With all the eyes on the SWAC, with all the money that's potentially out there in the SWAC, with all the success and media coverage now, you're going to have to win or you're going to fall to the wayside. And I think you saw Valley, you saw Texas Southern, you saw Grambling. I mean, you saw everyone in the SWAC try to step their game up. And with the addition, like Paris said, of the transfer portal, man, the sky's the limit because now any need you have where you're like, I don't know if a high schooler is going to be able to fill the need we have at X, Y, or Z position. You can go into the transfer portal and get a kid who has 2-3 years of starting experience to come in and contribute immediately. And I think right now there was a lot of pressure on them. Let's see, we got another call. What's up, caller? You're live.
Hey, Blues, David, man. I was just in the chat when talking about Hugh and stuff. I just wanted to kind of revisit that real quick.
Yeah.
I just feel like Hugh should have just came out after the Arbrow situation, just said, hey, I'm going to double dip this season, just be the OC. I think that would have been a better situation because here's the thing. We all know that football is a business, right?
Yep.
And you're the new CEO, i.e. the coach of the team, and you have expectations because you brought highly sought recruits and you have some pieces that the alum as well as the school is expecting to win right away, right? The reason why I say that like Grambling is having a very distracting off season is because we all know like it doesn't matter how talented you are. We talk about this all the time in like the NFL. It's not about talent if your culture and just all the noise. And like I said, maybe it could be one of those things where Hugh has that under control, but I just highly doubt it as a student athlete when you're walking through campus and you see your school on ESPN and all these other outlets getting blasted from not making good decisions. Now, what I will say about this hire, what happened with Simon is I just feel as though that was hey, we need to fill the position. Let's just put somebody there. He doesn't really need to have that much experience because, as you said earlier, he was going to call the plays anyway, which is what I got from the hire. And what I also get is the fact that I just feel as though Grambling and, from the athletic director to the president just aren't on the same page. Through how they handled the statement in the situation with Browse. I saw the interview. It just seemed like he wasn't prepared at all to, answer those questions he knew he was going to get.
Right.
And also, obviously the statement from the school was just like, preparing for the backlash. It's just, and honestly, I know a lot of the SWAT schools, it's, we tend to get on one another, but that's just not a good look for the conference. Because you got to think about it. I mean, Art Browse is a pretty big deal, but they also knew the baggage that came with hiring an Art Browse. Now, obviously, the eyes that came from Dion are now on the SWAT, and I just feel like you just have to, you have to go about the business differently than what you used to. I think this stuff could fly before Dion got to the SWAT, but now with all the eyes being on all these recruits coming, this could really set us back because of how Grambling's handling business. And now, Grambling can't afford to have a bad season. Now, like Hugh, I think even more the furnace for him to succeed in year one kind of goes up because of all the trouble that happened in the offseason. I mean, you think about all the stuff that's going on right now, coupled with, let's say he goes like 6-5 or something like that. Now the alum are going to turn up the heat on him, and he'll be on the hot seat by next season because of all this stuff. So that's just my 2 cents on it. I mean, I don't know how you feel, but that's what I got from this whole situation so far.
Oh no, man. I agree with you. Listen, if he doesn't have a winning record, then man, every single person in that football building is going to be looking side eye at him.
Yeah,
just wondering what happened, and then you mentioned the publicists and the eyes on the swag. The thing that blew me away is Grambling's one of the programs that has a pretty solid social media department and media and just media presence online. Is you usually do good. Y'all killed National Signing Day. You've killed the announcement of Hugh Jackson coming. What happened? Like where was the disconnect with that? Because you like Grambling's usually on the forefront of that, and that, so I think that's kind of what caught me off guard the most. Is if you gave me a university, gave me a list of SWAC teams who would have killed this announcement or done their best to publicize it and put it in a positive light and control their own narrative, Grambling would have been right there behind like Jackson State and FAMU.
Right.
And
absolutely,
they butchered the whole situation. And now I'm just wondering, like you said, if they don't win, what is the narrative going to be around the SWAC and around the media?
Right. And I don't want that for Hugh, because like I said, we all know Hugh's a very capable coach, and I would like I said, I'm not a Grambling supporter, but I'm a supporter of good quality schools doing the right thing to hire people that are going to progress the SWAC forward. You know what I mean? So I just feel as though like there's just a lot of question marks with this Grambling team, and it has nothing to do with talent. But to me, I think that Grambling State has just as much capable talent as FAMU and Alabama A&M, and also along with the West. I mean, they're very capable of winning it, but I just question the distractions right now and just where the kids' mindset are. Then, like you said, like you've had 3 OCs. Like, how can you you have spring ball get ready to come up like literally right around the corner? How can you develop continuity and consistency when you have so many faces, walking through, and you think, okay, I've got Art Browse for a couple of weeks, and now we don't know, what's going on. Because correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Hugh Jackson doesn't have the same philosophy or as Browse when it comes to him putting his offensive philosophy on the field. So
yeah, I mean, they definitely differ a little bit. I would say yeah, because I would say Hugh and Browse are like their offensives are pretty different, but I would have to imagine, or at least I would hope so, man. This is kind of like wishful thinking. I would hope they were trying to find a balance of the two, because I can't imagine that Hugh would want to be completely hands off with his offense, even with Browse
no,
there.
I didn't see that. Right.
So
Yeah,
so
I saw. Yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was about to say, so I'm hoping that the install was a joint install, and so they're not too far behind the 8 ball in terms of making this adjustment to John Simon as the offensive coordinator.
Right. Yeah, I'm just concerned, man. This is my last point. I'm just concerned because like I said, everybody's spring game is coming up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's either coming up at the start of April for some folks, and March, and we all be naive, but we're saying the most anticipated team we're looking forward to is not Grambling State with all the moves and acquisitions they acquired this offseason. So even that, for the potential of your alum, and also, obviously the financial issues that Grambling's been having with getting like proper meals and infrastructure updates that need to be made, the mold situation, right? You have to really sell your alums something, and obviously they're divided because of all the Doug Williams stuff, and then you turn around and you have to rebound now with less than a month to try to put out a product that people are going to believe in for next season. So that's just my thing.
Yeah.
With that.
Oh man, listen, great points, man. Thank you for calling in, man. That's a great call.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Let's see. I think I saw a comment down here I wanted to talk about. Let's see. I think Grambling fans should be concerned because Hugh Jackson has been consistent in attracting people who fall short in character and judgment. So I have to question his character. I won't make that straight, but I mean, I kind of get where you're going. With that one right there. Let's see. They aren't trying to touch it. It's too much. Probably. He killed all the energy with poor decision making. Desperation is what happened. Grambling is paying Hugh well for an HBCU, so they're expecting a lot in return, irrespective. I agree. Let's see. On one of All Script Lives, someone who knows a bit more about Brow said he's supposed to take over Liberty when Freeze retires. I would imagine Freeze is probably going to get a Power 5 job within the next 2 years. I mean, he's been a candidate for a lot of Power 5 jobs over the past few years. So I would imagine that it's not going to be long till he gets an opportunity, LJ. All the schools in the SWAC act like this. What type of conference is this? Good point about continuity. A silent killer. Kids won't want to invest time. It's a pain before the Hugh era starts. Maybe. I'm interested to see the spring game. I really want to see what that looks like. They have a lot of big decisions too. They got a quarterback battle going on there. I mean, literally, probably every single skill position is going to be a fight on that offense. And then on defense, they look pretty solid on defense. They have a lot of great talent returning on the defensive side of the football. But man, the offensive side, man, they got so many positional battles that they're going to have some sort of continuity on the offensive side of the ball, or there's a lot of those battles that could be raging into fall camp, which is really not what you want if you want to, go win a championship like Grambling expects to. Spring football is vanilla anyways. Whatever offense they were going to run, we weren't going to see it in the spring. Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be a skeleton. I mean, you're going to see some of like the base concepts, Kareem. You'll see some of the base things they want to do, but they're not going to show you any of the wrinkles. Every offense is kind of built around that core identity of what you want to do with the football, and then you kind of build out from there in terms of building in wrinkles and trick plays and different schemes. And so we won't see anything huge. It's just getting the fundamentals down in that offense and getting those quarterbacks and wide receivers comfortable on the same time. The offensive line has to gel throughout the spring, and on top of that, you got to find some running back, and you just got this is a whole lot of going through the motions and getting I'll just say the chemistry built up in that offense, because if the chemistry is not there, no matter what type of offensive system you run, the chemistry is not there across all the positions, you're not going to be successful, in my opinion. Sheldon said, I think people should watch the Jay Whitlock 2-hour interview with Art Briles if you want to hear a different side. It's an interesting interview. I kind of talked about it last live stream, but it's definitely an interesting interview. Grambling may lose Hugh to Arizona. It may be Coach Simmons. Arizona's head coach, Jed Fish, last year was his first year. I would imagine that he probably has 2 more years. They signed him to a pretty tough contract, and I mean, they seem to be really excited for how he's taken that program. He landed some pretty solid transfers, Coach Simmons. I would imagine that if Grambling loses Hugh to Arizona, I'm thinking you're talking college, but I would imagine Jed Fish probably still has a little bit of leeway on his contract in terms of what's going to happen. But if you mean like the Cardinals or something like that, I would find it hard pressed that Hugh Jackson ever gets a job in the NFL again after what just happened. Oh yeah, no, they were horrible last year, Coach Simmons, but they were horrible before he got there too. Don't let's remember that team was bad. And on top of that, Coach Simmons, they got to play North Dakota State this year. Arizona, in my opinion, is going to get handled by North Dakota State this year. Arizona's got to play them. I think it's week 2. I'm pretty sure this is what they play is when they play North Dakota State. Dave can probably tell you if he's still in the chat, but they got to play North Dakota State this year, and we'll probably lose that game to North Dakota State. I wouldn't be shocked if North Dakota State was like in my opinion, they should be slight favorites in that game. But let's see, didn't they lose to Northern Arizona last fall? Yeah, I believe so, Aaron. Or they came really, really close to losing to Northern Arizona last year. It's not a good look for Arizona. We'll just keep it at that. And then they copied, JSU's whole shirt, and it was just a long year for Arizona out there on the West Coast. But for me, I really think I'm interested to see what Hugh Jackson's offense is going to look like this year. Where's the ceiling for them? Like, what are you expecting after all this craziness is over, and now we got the OC. Now we probably know Hugh's going to call the plays and take on a large role in designing the offense. Where do you guys want to see that offense? Are we talking about a 30-point per game offense? Talking, 350 per game, in terms of total offense, because this is an offense last year that really, really struggled. They had single digit passing touchdowns. They had more interceptions than touchdowns last year. They were dead last in the SWAC in passing offense. And I think if you look at the trajectory of the conference, you're going to have to throw the football if you want to be successful in the SWAC. And this is going to be an interesting yeah, Lawrence, they had the I Believe shirts too. I wouldn't touch that Arizona team simply because of recruiting that area. You're going to lose all your recruits to Oregon and USC. 23 points per game. That I feel like he can get 23 Paris. I feel like that's a lower number in terms of scoring, but for year one possibly that would be solid. For me, I would say they got to average, you know, I would say 25 to 28, maybe a little bit more. I think 25 to 28 would be the perfect go-to. And I'll say this in SWAC play. Like if they go out to Arkansas State and it's not a competitive game, that team's now led by Butch Jones, former Tennessee head coach. I'm not really going to hold that against them week one, but I think 25 to 28 points a game for a Hugh Jackson offense after all the wide receivers you've recruited, after pulling in some solid QBs, after getting some offensive linemen, Maurice Washington at running back. I think 25 to 28 is doable. Like you should be able to put up, three plus touchdowns on just about everybody. Like you should be able to put up some points. Aaron said 25 points per game. Yeah, I think somewhere around there, because I think when you're looking at the SWAC, Jackson State should average 30. I'll give the new OC a little bit of a break, in terms of early season, but by the end of the season, they should be averaging 30 points a game. When you got Shador Sanders, when you got a revamped offensive line, when you got the weapons that they have at the wide receiver spot, Tyson's coming back at running back. I need 30 points a game from Jackson State. But year one with Hugh, I think 25 to 28 is right there. I think Fam will be somewhere in those mid 20s as well. Um, but you look at the offense, Connell Maynard and Alabama A&M going to put up crazy numbers. Texas Southern with Andrew Body probably going to put up insane numbers in terms of yardage, but Grambling should be right there. In my opinion, they got to put up some points. If I don't see a significant improvement from last year, I'm going to be looking at what all happened this offseason with a lot more skeptical way than I am right now. I'm not sure about their O-line, honestly. GSU, their O-line was pretty solid last year. Paris at times, but they got some new guys coming in, so I would like to see, because I know they lost. I believe off the top of my head, don't quote me. I think they lost 2 or 3 starters, because I know they had some guys at the HBCU Legacy Bowl, at least one on the offensive line. So I do think they lost some starters, Paris, but they brought in some pretty talented kids. I know they got the number 1 JUCO center, or number 1 or 2 JUCO center, if I'm not mistaken. So they got some solid pieces. It's all about the chemistry, though. Just like I said with Jackson State last year, if the chemistry isn't there, it doesn't matter if you got all the talent in the world. That offensive line isn't going to click. With all the hype for Hugh, what year are we looking at for good coaching? Are we going to go back to the USC or 2011 at Cincinnati? Um, hmm, that's a good question, Coach Simmons. I would say I wouldn't put a man. I wouldn't want to put the USC expectations on them year one, Coach Simmons. Um, I would say by year 2 or 3, I'm expecting that same type of offense where you're putting up points and yards. But I definitely, for me, I wouldn't put the pressure of having those USC offenses because I don't think he has a Carson Palmer or someone like that on his team right now, Coach Simmons. But I would say give him another recruiting class or so, and then maybe we can talk about comparing those types of offenses. But I don't think he has a quarterback of that caliber or with that type of experience in a Carson Palmer right now. Yes, get the likes up, man. We got over 100 people in here. Shout out to y'all for that. Definitely appreciate that. If Hugh goes to Arizona, does he get the same talent like he did at Grambling? I feel like he got that talent because of the newfound interest in the HBCU football and because of his resume. Um, I would say he probably still gets solid recruiting class, and I would say he's probably going to rank top 5 in the Pac-12 every year. Arizona has a solid high school recruiting base, and he's still going to recruit out of Southern California. I think the recruits he got because of his resume, he's still going to get at Arizona. He probably won't get the same type of interest, though. Like you said, the eyes on the SWAC right now, the SWAC is hot, and so I do think there were some recruits who probably won't follow him to Arizona. But I do think that he would get some strong talent in just because it's a Power Five conference. She's yeah, chemistry. Oh man. Let's see, what record do you give the G men? Let me pull up their schedule real quick. But I'm pretty sure I said last week. I think it's gonna probably be. I think 7-4. I won't even pull it up. I do think it's probably gonna be right around 7-4. Roosevelt. I think low end 6-5, but I think 7-4 to 8-3 would be my pick right now, Roosevelt. Blue, thanks as always for doing what you do. Question is Bishop Bonnet trying to go to the league? Yes, Larry. He was at the HBCU combine. Well, no, not combine, the Legacy Bowl. He was at the Legacy Bowl. He's been training. Bishop Bonnet's going to make a run at the NFL. I don't know where I would place him. He's probably going to be an undrafted free agent, if anything, be a special teams guy. He can return kicks. Maybe we'll see him in some sort of that role on an NFL roster, but I'm really hoping he gets a shot, man. I like Bishop. I know he watches the show. Shout out to him, but he is a little bit undersized, but he has the speed, the athleticism, and the ability to catch out the backfield that I think he can find a place on a roster. But I would imagine that he's probably going to be an undrafted free agent just based on the size right now, Larry. Is Hugh's resume good enough to have Grambling fans excited for a bright future? I think Hugh is mediocre as a head coach at best, and North Dakota State, Arizona is a week 3 games in Tucson. Okay, fair enough. Okay, week 3, that's a week 3 win for North Dakota State, but I think his college resume is good enough, Dave. You look what he did with USC and coaching some Heisman winners up there. I think he's done it at the college level. I don't think Nick Saban wasn't a very good NFL coach. Pete Carroll at first wasn't a very good NFL coach until he came back the second time. So I don't think NFL success and college success really go hand in hand. So I do think Hugh's college resume is good enough for Grambling fans to be excited, but you know, I still want to see his decision making, man, because he hasn't been a head coach at the college level, and it's a whole different role. And we haven't seen a lot of head coaches who control a side of the ball completely. Like I think Hugh is going to have to do as a head coach this year, be successful immediately. You look at all the national championship winners, you look at, FCS national championship winners, and just last year with Jackson State winning the SWAC, they all the head coaches take a CEO role. So I'm interested to see how that's going to work for Hugh next year and moving forward. Who's your team to win it all? And Cali this year, mine is Bama. They're bringing back their whole team. Oh yeah, no, Jordan, it's Bama. Listen, if y'all ask me who's going to win the national championship there this year, it's Bama. Bama's winning it, man. You bring back Bryce Young, Will Anderson on the defensive side of the ball. The secondary returns like 3 out of 4 starters. The linebackers are all returned outside of Christian Harris, but they got a 5-star replacing him. The offensive line, they're replacing Evan Neal with a 5-star. The offensive line is going to be 5 stars across the board. They've been playing together. Listen, it's Bama all the way. If I had to put money on it, Jordan, I'm putting Bama by a million right now. There's nobody who's going to touch them in the SEC. Georgia lost too much. Any thoughts on Anton Sewell for D coordinator for Bama State? So Crawford, I didn't know a lot about him, so I texted somebody who knew a little bit more about his background, and so the what they texted me is that Travis, who left, was proven But so it's not a huge improvement in terms of that, but but he did tell me that the Bowie State defense was absolutely legit. Um, and that with the right athletes that they can keep their defensive tradition alive. So I think, I don't know a lot about him, but Alabama State's got a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. So I think he's going to be just fine on that. With all these big receivers, just play basketball on a football field if all else fails. That is true. I hope Warren Newman as well. Yeah, Paris, he's kind of in the same boat. Very undersized, probably a special teamer, undrafted free agent, most likely for him too. Man, appreciate you, Larry. So, are you thinking the G-Man will only lose one game in the SWAC? You may need to look at that schedule. Okay, I'll look at that schedule, man. Hang on. Let me look at that schedule. And he corrected me real fast, didn't he? He said, listen, pull up the schedule. Let's see. So we got the Grambling football schedule right here. All right. Let's see. Well, I'll keep track. So they're going to lose to Arkansas State. Let me just put that out there. 0-1 right now for Grambling. They'll beat Northwestern, I think. So that's 1-1. They're going to lose to Jackson most likely. So that's 1-2. They'll beat Bethune. That's 2-2. I think they beat PV right now. I think they're a little bit better than PV. So 3-2. The toss-up game is Alabama A&M. I'm gonna give them a loss though. So that's what 3-3 for them. I'm gonna give them 3-4 against FAM. I think they're gonna beat Alcorn. I really do. I think they're with the question mark surrounding the quarterback spot. I'm gonna give them the win over Alcorn. I'll give them the win over UAPB, and I'll give them the win over Texas Southern. And I like them over Southern. So yeah, man, I think I'm going to go with 7-4. 6-5, would be the low end, but with a few, I think the Alcorn game and the Southern game are the ones that I'm really unsure about. So I think the low end is probably a losing record. But I think right now I really like them at 7-4, 6-5. I do. So we'll just go with that right now. He helped turn TSU around. I think Warren Newman will get a shot at the USFL or grad assistant at JSU. That's probably I like that. Yeah, Simmons. I think that's a solid guess for him. Bishop Bonnet needs to go to KC. He'll fit real well on that offense. Paris is letting it known. SWAC West is wide open. Is wide open compared to the SWAC East. I still have PV winning due to playing Bama State, BCU, and Valley from the East. Grambling and Southern have to play top teams from the East. I just don't know PV. I don't know. Their quarterback situation kind of worries me. They did lose Jawan Pass and they lost a few really stout contributors. So I don't know about PV, man. And you got a new head coach coming in, and I can't see it, man. I can't pick PV right now to win that division. Right now, I'm gonna say, I talked about it last live stream. I think it's going to come down to who wins that group of 3 games. It's going to come down to Alcorn, Grambling, and Southern. And right now, I would favor Southern and Grambling a little bit more than Alcorn right now. So I think it's going to be Southern and Grambling winning that division. It's going to come down to that Bayou Classic most likely. He said anybody but Bama. I call upset versus Arkansas State. That's going to be tough, man. In the first game of the season under Hugh, I got a tough time seeing them beat Arkansas State, but crazier things have happened in college football. Grambling hasn't lost in Jackson since 1999. Ooh, I didn't know that. Okay. Listen, if Paris came real fast, things are meant to be broken. Streaks are meant to be broken. Alabama State winning the SWAC championship. The AD said it at the Eddie Robinson press conference. Listen, if Alabama State wins the SWAC, Lawrence, that would probably be the most remarkable. That's got to have the craziest odds out of any conference. That'd be like Youngstown State winning the MVC this year, or I don't even know who to pick in the Big Sky. Like Idaho winning the Big Sky potentially. That would be interesting if they did that. PV starting quarterback may be a true freshman. That's what I'm saying, man. I can't ride with PV for the division right now. They got too many question marks in terms of coaching and quarterback. For me, I can't give it to him right now. Now, if that true freshman or whoever they started quarterback comes out and he's a baller, we can reevaluate that. But as of March 7th right now, there's too many question marks for me to ride with them for the division. He said Alabama State needs to win with the Magic City Classic first. That's true, John. That's true. No matter what the AD said, State ain't winning no swag. If I had to put money on it, and I went to State, we need to get back to beating Alabama A&M. That is true. Technically, that forfeit would have been beat down in Jackson in 2013. Fair enough. Let's see. All hell will break loose if Bama State wins the SWAC. Man, can you imagine? Like it's we got Alabama State, Texas Southern, or like in the SWAC championship. It would just be. He said that's like Vandy saying they're gonna win the SEC. Oh man. Yeah. Terry said neither is Grambling. Oh man, I love it. Let's see. How do you feel about North Carolina Central playing New Hampshire this season? Does NCCU have any chance? I don't know. So right now, off the top of my head, I'm really not sure on NCCU's like losses or like departures or anything like that. But after man, I still think New Hampshire's pretty tough. Are they playing at New Hampshire, Lawrence? Are they traveling? Because if they're traveling, that's going to be a tough one to win. But I don't think they're going to get blown out. I'll say that. I think that's going to be a close game. Right now, I would say that's a 55-45 game. I'm leaning toward New Hampshire, but I don't think NCCU is going to get just destroyed. I'd be really shocked because, I mean, that's always a team that's real tough. They play everyone real tough, regardless of the talent level. So I think New Hampshire's probably going to get it, but I would say North Carolina Central has a slight chance, Lawrence. Yeah, at New Hampshire's tough, but I still say they won't get blown out. They'll have a chance, but I'm going to lean New Hampshire right now, Lawrence. Let's see. I think the East is going to be decided by Alcorn or Grambling. That's fair enough. I think if Alcorn's thing is going to come down to how do you replace CJ Bowler at wide receiver and who's your quarterback? That's your two biggest questions. And also, have you upgraded the line of scrimmage? Because they were too small up front. They weren't physical enough up front, and they got abused at times, man. I mean, that first half of the UAPB game just got it was embarrassing at times. And then that NCCU game week 1, that offensive line got dominated. So I think upgrading the line of scrimmage, quarterback, and replacing CJ Bowler are my biggest question marks for Alcorn. But I can see them being in the running. I'm never going to count out Fred McNair. I'll just put it out there right now. Fred McNair, I will not count him out. So more likely to happen, Bama State wins the SWAC or Boston College wins the ACC. Boston College winning the ACC. I'm just going to put that out there because Bama State right now I would have Bama State behind Alabama A&M, behind Jackson State, behind FAMU. So I mean they're at best fourth in their division. That's real tough. Boston College had a chance to win it last year at times, and I do think that when you look at the top ACC teams, with Clemson losing all that they did, I don't think they're going to be unbeatable, man. So I think if Boston College can put it together, Boston College winning the ACC is not as crazy as it may seem. But yeah, Bama State winning the SWAC, I just can't see it. I'm sorry. Clear the dude is pushing the Bama 21% narrative is loss. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Terry? Alcorn needs to focus on their strength and conditioning first. that fair enough. How do you evaluate FAMU's QB room? I think right now it's going to come down to Rashawn McKay or the Musa kid from Vanderbilt, man. I think that's your only two options at the quarterback room right now. Who is who are you gonna trust in big moments? And what I'm kind of worried about with Musa is that Willie Simmons and KJ Black and all of them are very, very comfortable with Rashawn McKay. And listen, I understand everyone was critical of Rashawn McKay, including myself at times, but he ultimately did lead you to a 2-loss season and a playoff appearance. Now he didn't play well in the playoff game, but it's kind of a similar situation I'm looking at to what Georgia's in with Stetson Bennett, who you clearly have a backup who could possibly be better than him. But how do you bench somebody who just led you to an outstanding season? And so for me, if I had to put money on it, I think McKay is going to take the first snap. But I do think if Musa gets out there, man, the sky's the limit. The kid can sling it. And ultimately, let's just be honest, FAMU has better talent on the outside than Vandy had. And so I really want to see Musa in that offense and how the play calling and play style changes with him in the game. But it's going to be a 2-horse race, Sermon. It's going to come down to Musa, McKay, and due to him being the offense the longest, I'm going to give McKay the slight advantage. Do you put Alabama State over Valley? Yes. Right now, I put Alabama State over Valley, John. Right now, I would. If ASU wins the SWAC, all the starting QBs in the SWAC East would have to have injuries early and be out for the entire year. Oh, he said graduation rate. CJ back. I thought CJ Bowler graduated. I'm pretty sure CJ Bowler graduated. I could be missing something, but yeah, let me know. I'm pretty sure CJ Bowler was at the I'm thought he was at the Legacy Bowl. Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking about the wrong person, but Alcorn hired a strength and conditioning coach from Penn State. Yeah, he's a stud too. He has a really, really good track record, and Penn State has an excellent strength and conditioning program. So I think that was one of the more underrated hires. What two teams in C Bowl? Right now, Russell, as of March 7th, and I can change this. So listen. Y'all can say y'all are gonna hold me to it, but I'll fight y'all on it. But I'm gonna say still, I think it's going to, I think it's gonna be the same, really and truly. I think it's gonna be and South Carolina State and Jackson State right now. That's gonna be my pick. Right now, I just don't think the South Carolina State and Buddy Pugh is going to find a way to get it done. They had a solid recruiting class. I know they lose two really good DBs, in Zafir Kelly and Jacoby Durant, but I think they're going to find a way to get back. McKay, I think Alcorn is going to be terrible next season. Man, that's what I'm worried about. That is what I am. That is really what I'm worried about. But I got a little bit of faith in Fred McNair, Lawrence. So I'm not. I'm too far away from saying it. Man, appreciate you, Joey. Been trying to put in some work for you guys. I still believe the winner of JSU or FAMU will win the SWAC. I agree, Kareem. That's the game. I mean, week one, I think I'm going to know I know who's going to win the SWAC. Unless, I'll reserve this, knock on wood. Outside of injuries, I don't see how the winner of that game doesn't get back to the SWAC championship. So I think week one, we're gonna find out. He said, "What are you serious? Blue State over Valley?" Okay, so BJ's back. Okay. Valley will beat Bama State into the ground. Crawford said all this Bama State slander is all called for. Crawford, what did Bama State do to everybody, man? Everyone is on Bama State's neck tonight. Bama State is the kid that's getting bullied for his lunch money in the chat tonight. Valley has the number one JUCO QB in the country. Yeah, wasn't the kid from East Mississippi? I want to say his name's like Jalen something. I know Scotty did like a whole film breakdown on him. We'll see. I know they got some young guys in the room. Quincy, I believe, also is in that QB room. They got some young guys, so that's going to be an interesting QB battle down in Itabena as well. What did Alcorn pay him with a lifetime stakes? Man, y'all got to lay off Alcorn at Alabama State tonight, man. You guys are on one. So I guess the question for you guys from me is who is the sleeper in the SWAC for you guys? Like if you got to take the favorites out, so no picking FAMU, no picking Jackson State, no picking Grambling or Alcorn. Who is y'all's sleeper in the SWAC this year? Who could you see if everything falls right? Who do you guys think is the sleeper in the SWAC? Let's see. Do you think FAMU's let's see when is Tennessee State gonna make the call on switching conferences? I'm not sure when they're supposed to when they're supposed to make that call. I don't know if there was a deadline put on the offer, Jay Stokes, but I would imagine in the next 2 weeks or so we'll kind of hear something. They talk a lot of trash. They're not a traditional SWAC team. Their facilities suck compared to ours. Jesus. Valley is a sleeper for Paris. Bethune for Jordan. Ooh, picking the rival on that one. Valley for Quincy. Alabama State for Lawrence. Valley for G-Dub. Valley is actually getting better. A&M is a sleeper that woke. Alabama A&M was most definitely the sleeper in the SWAC. Did you guys see the I try to did you guys see the clip or the video from spring practice? That spring practice video was interesting. Possibly Texas Southern. They scored a lot of points. Just need defense. The sleeper in the SWAC East to me is Alabama A&M. No, CJ is back. Okay, yeah, Charles Pringle. My bad. Yeah, I got them mixed up. A&M over FAMU, Valley. Can I pick Texas Southern if a defense can allow no more than 20? I can see it. That defense was bad. That defense was very bad. I'll say that. Let's see. I'm trying to find that clip. Corny Maynard needs to keep his mouth shut. Sleeper Valley and Alcorn. What did you think of the clip? Man, they look motivated. Listen, okay, so I'll say this. I won't say what we talked about or nothing like that. Kyle Maynard is ready. Listen, he told me personally at the HBC Legacy Bowl, he's ready for the season. He wants to make a statement. I really do think that Scooter thing got to him. The beat down that they got from Jackson State got to them. I don't think that game's going to be a cakewalk down in Mobile, and I can't wait. I've never been more happy to be for Mobile in my life than when that game got scheduled down there. So listen, they're motivated. That's all I got to say about the clip is they're motivated and they're focused. Texas Southern again. FAMU and Alcorn fight it out for number 1 in the SWAC. What does A&M have as QBs for next season? So they got Jaron Williams to transfer from Miami, and I think it was FIU, I believe. I think he switched, but he's originally from Miami, and they got Quincy Casey, G-Dub. Yeah, so they got Jaron Williams and Quincy Casey. That's going to be the QB battle, and I heard it's pretty even as the last thing I heard. The guys that call Valley games are hilarious, but been on through that. What's up, caller? You're live.
Hey, this is Mr. Ford. How you doing?
How you doing, Mr. Ford?
Hey, listen. Let me turn this down. Listen, I think some of your people got it right here. That Bethune-Cookman situation, I'm of the belief that they've got to get rid of Terry Sims. He's holding them back. If they could go back to the Brian Jenkins days down there at Bethune-Cookman, they would be a power in the SWAC. Do you remember when Brian Jenkins was over that program?
Brief, like kind of, but I know they were a lot better than they were right now.
They were dominant. He's the reason. Remember they beat FAMU like 8 or 9 years in a row?
Yep.
The majority of that was Brian Jenkins. And ever since Brian Jenkins left Bethune, they've gone down farther and farther every year. They've got to get a replacement for Terry Sims. He's not the answer, but it's going to be interesting. You know, they got the Jalen Jones kid who's transferred in from a junior college. He's supposed to be the starting quarterback at Bethune-Cookman. Another program that I'm looking at is Southern University. Like I tell people all the time, you don't have to worry about Southern's offense because Dooley's going to have the offense straight. Dooley's problem is always defense because he pays so much attention to his offense. His defense is lacking now. For the first time in a long time at Prairie View, they played defense last year. With, I can't remember that kid's name. He was on that defensive line. I think Dumas.
Oh, yeah.
That Dumas kid led them. Brian Jenkins did have some problems, but let me tell you something, man. I think Brian Jenkins was down there, 7, 8 years. He dominated the MEAC, and I just felt like Brian made a major mistake leaving Bethune and coming to Alabama State. I don't really think the alumni wanted him there. And he had a lot of problems at Alabama State. But I think Bethune can come back, but they've got to have a change at the head coaching position. But like I say, I'm also of the Vincent Dancy. I think that Dancy is going to his program's going to come up. I think his program's going to pull some upsets. Now, you just hit it on the head. You know, I know y'all laughed at Cornell Maynard because he got beat Jackson put 60 points on him. But, guys, let me tell you something. That ain't going to happen no more. That's not going to happen no more. He's gone out. He's gone out and done with his due diligence. He's gone out and upgraded that program. I think he got, 56 or 57? What did he get, 58 transfers? What did Cornell Maynard?
Yeah, something like that. I think he got 16 defensive backs in one recruiting class.
And I think, didn't he have the highest number of transfers of any FCS program?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So, listen, guys, that's going to be, like you said, Blue, that's going to be a classic down there in Mobile. That's going to be a big game. Alabama A&M versus Jackson in Mobile. It's going to be a different story down there. Now, let me tell you something. The guy who he got is his defense coordinator, I think it's Boulware.
Mm-hmm.
Boulware is a graduate of, I think he was a graduate of the University of North Carolina. Those two put Winston-Salem in the Division II championship. That says a lot about them. I really believe that it's going to be some big things happening at Alabama A&M. Somebody said, right, Mr. Ford must have 10 different devices he calls, everyone. Yeah, listen, as long as they talking swag football or HBC football, guys, I love it, man. That's a part of my life. I've always loved it. Blue, y'all got any question? You got any question for me?
Oh yeah, and so one of the teams that a lot of people have been looking at as a sleeper is Texas Southern. I know their defense was just horrible last year. Their defense was really bad. Looking at them as a program from your perspective, what do they have to do to reach the top of the SWAC? Because I mean, they got a transcendent quarterback in Andrew Body already.
Yeah, now Andrew Body is super, but here's the thing, Blue. And I say this all the time: winning starts in the president's office. And in the last 40 years, what Texas Southern does is every 3-4 years, they get rid of the president. When they get rid of the president, then they get rid of people in the athletic department. It's no stability at Texas Southern. This is what I say. I still say, if this guy McKinnell does not work out at Texas Southern, would y'all please go and get Jay Hobson? I guarantee you, if Jay Hobson will have that program rolling in Texas Southern in 2 years, I give him 2 years. Might not take that long. Because here's my thing about Texas Southern. You in the city of Houston, Texas, they put out 500 Division I players every year. You in the state of Texas. State of Texas got 28 million people. You can't get 50 quality ball players, and it's 28 million people in Texas. But, to be honest with you, the only time I've been impressed with Texas Southern, there was a guy there by the name of Johnny Cole. I don't know if you remember Johnny. Johnny was the brother of L.C. Cole. L.C. was head coach at Tennessee State. He was the head coach, I think, at Morgan, or might have been on the staff at Morgan. He was the head coach at Alabama State. When Johnny came to Texas Southern, that's his alma mater. Johnny and LC are from Dayton, Ohio. They played for Pete Richardson in high school. I think their high school was called Dunbar or something like that. But anyway, I can't put no faith. Like you said, the Body kid is great. I like what I see offensively. But then I look at their defense, and the only thing I think about is it's a high school defense. I don't like what I see. Historically, I mean, just going by what they do historically, don't put no faith in Texas Southern. Don't put no faith in Texas Southern because they don't never do right. Yeah, you're right. Somebody said, I think LC was at Stillman College. He was. That's right. He played at Nebraska. Johnny was a quarterback at Texas Southern, I think in the 70s. I think that's when Johnny was. But, because like I always tell people, man, winning starts in the president's office. Hudson, now a lot of people don't give enough credit. Hudson and Ashley Robinson is the reason Jackson State is the most publicized HBCU in the country. What they did in bringing in Deion Sanders was genius. Okay, Florida A&M struggled all them years after Billy Joe was fired. They finally got themselves together and went and got Willie Simmons. I'm still waiting to see this whole thing. Now, I'm going to tell you something about Alabama State. Alabama State kind of reminds me of LSU back in the day when LSU had all that talent, but they were like a sleeping giant. Mm-hmm. That's what Alabama State is to me. Everybody I talk to, they like the offensive line coach. That's Alex Jackson, who was formerly at Florida A&M. They like the defensive line coach. I'm hearing some good things about the defensive coordinator they brought down from Bowie State. I can't get a handle on. Nobody can tell me. Nobody will go to bat for the offensive coordinator. Everybody at Tuskegee say he was a terrific player, but when you ask him, what do you think about him as a offensive coordinator? Nobody will just go out on a limb and say he's great, or nobody will say he's a game changer. None of that. It's like, well, we really don't know. We don't really know about him, but that's how I feel about Texas Southern.
And I have a question here for you. They asked if you thought it was a good idea for Jackson State to give up a home game for a classic in Mobile.
Oh yeah, see, listen, it's all kind of athletes down in Mobile. Now people don't forgot this, but Mobile is the home of Hank Aaron, Tommy Agee, Cleon Jones, Willie McCovey. It is so many athletes in that area down there. See, that area is a part, it's really connected to Florida. That's called the Panhandle, okay? It goes all the way, the interstate that runs through there is I-10. Let me tell you something. It's nothing but athletes down there. Go back and look at the history of that area. Bear Bryant lived down there. He used to get all his players from that area, okay? See, if you go east, you're going back into places like Niceville, Fort Walton Beach, Panama City, Pensacola. Oh man, I mean, it's that whole area. I think one's called Defoniac Springs. Then you go west, you got Pascagoula, you got Gulfport. Man, listen, I'm telling you right now, man, there are so many athletes on that I-10 corridor. That is a brilliant move to move that game to Mobile. Because let me tell you something. The Hall of Famer, remember Doom Brazil? Doom Brazil is from Mobile.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
okay. Remember Lawyer Tillman?
Yep.
Lawyer Tillman was an Auburn great wide receiver, Cleveland Browns, Mobile. Listen, they need to stay in Mobile. It's so many. The guy that was the quarterback for LSU, the big guy, he went to the Oakland Raiders.
Jamarcus Russell.
He was from Mobile.
Yep.
T. Martin, Mobile area. Listen, that's a brilliant move to have that game down there. There's so many athletes on that I-10 corridor.
Oh, you don't have to tell me this for it. I'm actually originally from Mobile, so
listen, you're supposed to say amen.
No, I'm with you because my science teacher in 7th grade actually was Jamarcus Russell's science teacher when he was in high school. So I mean, listen, there's so much talent. I mean, I remember when I was playing every week, like I had to play CJ Mosley's brother when I was playing. We had we played a team in the playoffs with like 2 or 3 Bama commits on their team over there in Foley. I mean, there's so much talent down here that people don't realize. And even Damian Craig, who everyone wanted hired in the SWAC team, Mobile guy.
That's right. Yeah, and you remember Major Oglesby, Alabama? Yeah, Major Oglesby. Now, there was another one. He was from Mobile, ran the ball for Alabama, but he went to the Dallas Cowboys, but he got in trouble with drugs. He was a little running back. He was tough. I want to say his last name was Williams or something, but he was out of Mobile. They turn him out in Mobile. But people have forgotten at one time, Mobile was the hottest spot as far as recruiting talent for Major League Baseball.
Yep.
I mean, some greats came out of Mobile. That's Hank Aaron and all that crew, you know. But yeah, anybody else got any questions for me?
Yeah, the last question I'll let you run, Mr. Ford, is they want to know how you feel about John Simon being hired as the OC at Grambling.
Yeah, I'm with it. Let me just say this. First of all, Hugh will give him his NFL playbook. And you just brought up about the quarterback. Now personally, I think the quarterbacks are going to be that kid that's transferring from UCLA. It could be the body. Was it Noah Biden? Is that right? No,
yeah, Noah Biden.
It could be him. But anyway, I think it's going to be the kid from UCLA. It's going to be the quarterback. Okay, so what he'll do, he'll give him, his Raider, Cincinnati Bengal, Cleveland Brown playbook. He will both of them will probably put their heads together. Hugh will determine the type of plays they will run. Now, I would be surprised if Hugh calls the plays. I'm thinking that Simon will probably call the plays, but if it doesn't work out, he will call the play. But they still in good shape. I have no problem with that. Simon was at Memphis State. I saw Memphis State. They're in the AAC. They had a high flying offense, especially when the guy that's now at Florida State who's catching hell down at Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
He was the coach, and all of them guys have a connection with Arizona State. Because, see, Hugh has a connection with Arizona State, okay? And so, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. But I think you hit it on the head. They might struggle, you know, in them first two games with that
Arkansas State.
Arkansas State. And who was the other one?
Northwestern State.
No, they might have a little problem with them games. But let me tell you something. When it comes to spike play, they're going to be ready. They're going to be ready. That's why I say you better beat them early. You better get them early. But see, one thing you have to understand now, I'm a Grambling graduate now. Let me tell you something. That G means something. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you now, that G means something now. Because see, them people down there, that area, they demand excellence. They demand perfection. They demand winning. When you start talking about coming up in that hole and that Grambling alumni, baby, let me tell you something. Them boys going to play. They're going to play now because that's what that G stand for.
Well, man, I'm excited to see Grambling this year, Mr. Ford. But thank you for the call in, man. Always, okay. You got the best calls. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good night.
You
okay?
too. Shout out to Mr. Ford, man. Listen, the only person who makes me feel like I know like less college football than them is Mr. Ford. Man, he puts it on those calls. He said, "Graham fam, Alabama A&M has to deal with my alma mater UAB." Yeah, Alabama A&M has a brutal opening schedule. UAPB, then Troy. And then they got to go play Austin Peay, and then they got to play FAMU. I mean, that is a brutal first 4 games of a schedule because UAPB is not going to be a pushover. I mean, I think they beat, if I'm not mistaken, they beat Jacksonville State like 35-3 or something like that last year. I mean, they're not going to be a pushover. That's the same Jacksonville State team who beat Florida State last year. So do not. Let's see, ain't nothing bigger than Grambling. Mr. Ford, why does the Grambling play more home games? I'll ask him next time he calls in, Coach Simmons. I'll ask him next time he calls in. But listen, I love it. Yeah, UAB 30-0 over Jacksonville State last year. So UAB is not going to be a pushover. They'll have a better chance of beating Troy than they will UAB. He said we only have like 2 home games a year. Troy is losing to Alabama A&M. We'll see, man. Listen, a lot of people thought Southern was going to beat Troy last year, and it was, 50? Oh, listen, Southern fans, let me know. Was it 52-3, I think? 52-3, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Terry, yeah, UAB dominated BYU. Let's see. Bama State should have beat UAB, lost by 3. That's true. Let's see. Yeah, 55-3. 55-3. Yeah, that's brutal. But man, listen, look at this, like, let's see, like recap, everything we talked about, man. The NFL Combine, ridiculous, man. I want to give a shout out to all the FCS, HBCU athletes who put on an absolute show. We highlighted a few of them, from Troy Anderson just putting on a ridiculous, outing from Montana State, to Marquis Bell putting on a show like he did, to Kobe Durant 4.38, I believe, is what his official time was, putting on a show. Even Williams from Fayetteville State had a big day. So man, the NFL Combine was a big deal this weekend for FCS players. And then of course John Simon promoted as offensive coordinator to from Grambling, Memphis, former Memphis passing game coordinator. And listen, I mean, it's going to be an interesting go for Grambling. See Troy not going out like that. Later, Quincy, man. Hey, let me know how the Batman is. I haven't seen it yet. NDSU stop being a bully and join the FBS. Coach, we've talked about this, man. I've kind of covered why they can't go FBS yet. Listen, they'll go FBS when they can, but until North Dakota and South Dakota State are ready, they're not going to go FBS without their friends. They got to keep the Dakotas together, especially with all the rivalries that they have. South Dakota State and North Dakota State are not going separately. Thank God NCAA is reviewing fake injuries. Yeah, they're doing a bunch of different rule changes. Listen, if if they don't fix targeting this year, I don't know what to say. Targeting is should be number one on the list of things NCAA needs to fix. You have to fix targeting rule. There should not be an automatic ejection. It has to be something like the NBA where you have a flagrant one, flagrant two. Yes, anyone like a Vontez Burfict got to get out. And if not, and then outside of that, everyone else should just get a 15-yard penalty and a warning. It should be like unsportsmanlike conduct where you get 2 a game or something like that. You cannot just be kicking kids out of the game because the running back lowered his head and they had helmet to helmet contact. Montana was in the Pac-10, yeah, and they didn't make it, sadly, Coach Simmons. They had to come back down. I think Ohio State ends up in the Natty versus Bama this year, but Bama still wins. Yeah, Ohio State's going to be really good, Jordan. Listen, CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are gonna carry those teams as far as they could go. Let's see. Bama State did that in the UAB 24-17 score. The SWAC refs need to be fixed. That's true, man. Listen, SWAC refs have to have like some sort of class or something. SDSU running back will start one day soon. I agree. Listen, Waves. Just I'll kind of give you guys like a preview of what's coming up. So I dropped Troy Anderson's draft profile today. Tomorrow, I'm doing Christian Watson, North Dakota State. Then I'm doing Trevor Penning, Northern Iowa. Then I'm going to do Marquis Bell, FAMU, and then Jatari Carter, Southern. Those are kind of my next 5. And then I'm going to start taking y'all suggestions. So I'll probably do Pierre Strong, South Dakota State running back. I'll do a Jacoby Durant. I'll try to, spread it out, do an Akil Glass, do a Cole Kelly, things like that. And just ultimately up until the draft, man, I'll be dropping, draft profiles for all the top FCS prospects, man. I really want to shine a light on FCS prospects compared to some of the other channels who are just highlighting the top P5 prospects. What round do you have Marquis Bell getting drafted? I think Marquis is probably going to be a mid-round pick, Corey. I would say probably third to fourth. I'll say third to fourth round pick. I would imagine him going. DBs are so deep this year, man. They are just ridiculously deep. But I think third to fourth, and then no later than a 5th round pick for Marquis Bell with his size, his production, his combine performance. I think he's solidified himself as a mid-round pick, in my opinion. BCU has to go over the UWF QB transfer. We'll see. I think he wants to come up to FCS. Let's see. I love clowning all that. I want to see the FCS as a whole rise. Hope all SWAC and other FCS guys can put on for us this draft cycle. I agree, man. Listen, it's not just a one conference thing or another. The entire FCS has to come up. So Trevor Penning going in the first round is a good thing for the SWAC. James Houston getting drafted is a good thing for the MVC, man. All FCS is tied together, man. So we want to see as many FCS prospects get drafted as possible, and also not just get drafted, go put on in the league too. You just saw what Cooper Kupp did out of Eastern Washington, winning the MVP. That's a big win for the FCS. Amari Carter at Miami, he got kicked out almost every game. Man, Smoke Monday at Auburn was the same way. Don't worry about that. They pick up SWAC refs remote Debo the night before the game. SWAC officiating 101 for all SWAC refs. I agree. Bell going third or fourth. I agree on that one. Let's see. It's some good speed at safety this year. Yeah, Bell may be the best tackler. I agree on that. He's probably one of the best tacklers, coming downhill. And I mean, he can make plays on the ball. What, he had 8 or 9 interceptions. 8 or 9 interceptions not last year, 2019. So I think he also has the ball skills, man. Any predictions on JSU James Houston? I would say James is probably like a 4th to 6th round pick. I think he's going to go somewhere in there. This is going to be weird, and I'll explain it when I do his draft profile, and I'm going to try to explain it as best I can now. But I mentioned it with Troy Anderson today as a negative, even though you might think it's a positive. Versatility is great. But sometimes a player that doesn't really have a set position where James Houston can play edge, he can play outside linebacker, you can put him at Mike too, based on his time at Florida. Players like that who are kind of a tweener role really get knocked in the draft process because coaches don't want to have to do the work to figure out where they go. And as much as versatility can be a positive for somebody, it also could be a negative. And so I think James Houston is going to get a little knock on that Sonic Boom. For me, I think he should probably go third, fourth round. But if I'm being completely honest with myself, looking at how the draft process is working out, him not getting invited to the combine, I'm going to say probably fourth to fifth round for James Houston this year. He's definitely going to get drafted. I don't think there's any question on that. But I think fourth to fifth round is probably where you're going to see James Houston's name go off the board. Cooper Kupp had no business in the FBS. Listen, man, he just got overlooked in recruiting. It happens. It happens. Blue Eyes, no one talking about Carson Strong. He had so I think it was more what happened with his Senior Bowl waves. He really kind of got lost in the pack at the Senior Bowl. I think there were some quarterbacks that really outshined him at the Senior Bowl, including Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ritter. I think Malik Willis is getting a lot of shine after the combine. So I just think Carson Strong's getting a little bit overlooked, Waves. And also, I think you got a guy who played at the Group of 5 level who's getting overlooked because Malik Willis from Auburn. And then you also have Desmond Ritter who just played in the playoffs. I think he's just getting overlooked right now. Would love to see an interview with James Houston. Listen, so a little funny story. I actually was supposed to have James Houston on the show the day after he committed to Jackson State when he announced his transfer, and things kind of fell through. Listen, I would love to have James Houston on. If he's watching or anyone knows him, reach out. Listen, we will do that interview like tonight if he needs to. So listen, I wish I could get him on the show, but I'll try to reach back out, Corey. Measurables matter. Do you think the kicker for San Diego State could be a second, third round pick? Man, that kid's a stud. And listen, the specialist had a stupid combine. I think they had a punter who ran like a 4.6 or something like that. I mean, it was insane to see the athleticism from the specialist. But possibly, man, I don't think they're going to reach that high. Possibly a third round pick, EA, but I would say probably fourth or later. I mean, listen, after what happened with the kid from Florida State who everyone reached on in like the early second round, and he ended up being a complete bust, I don't think anyone's going to take a chance on the kicker in the second round. But I think maybe, third if someone really, really needs a kicker, and or probably like late fourth round would be where you would see him possibly drafted. James Houston should play with his hands in the ground. I agree after what he did this year. Oh, for sure, Sonic Boom. Any second round picks? Probably not from the SWAC. I'm going to be honest with you, Russell. The SWAC's probably not getting any second round picks. I think you got Trevor Penning going first round. I think in the second round, you possibly, because I think you're going to see Christian Watson probably go second round from the FCS. Possibly some offensive linemen, but I think Christian Watson's probably your best chance for a second round pick from the FCS. The FCS is winning this year. I agree. The FCS is dominating the draft process in these past few weeks. Whereas Glass getting drafted, I think Glass will probably go fifth to seventh. Jay, I think he's had I thought he was possibly going to be an undrafted free agent after this season at times, but I think when you look at what he did at the NFLPA Bowl, what he did at the Legacy Bowl in practice and everything like that, he's really proven himself as a guy who you can bring in and build as a project guy, sit behind a talented quarterback and learn the offense and things like that. I think Akil Glass, fifth to seventh round, is probably where you're going to see him go in all actuality. And I'm really hoping he gets drafted. If he doesn't, he'll be one of the first guys you see sign an undrafted free agent contract after the draft. They usually don't draft that high for kickers. Yeah, there's only been a few. And listen, I mean, I don't see a Ray guy in this draft class. Never draft a kicker in the second to fourth round. I agree. If Malachi Wadman puts up 1,212 touchdowns, should he go to the draft? Possibly. I mean, I think I really want to kind of critique what the wide receiver class is looking like, Jahari, but I would imagine he would have to strongly consider it because I would imagine that's going to be a pretty solid year. I think only the UNI lineman going in the first two rounds, Watson third or fourth. I was kind of there, Leon, for Watson. But after the combine and the Senior Bowl, I have a really tough time seeing him last past the third. And I've even seen like there was a mock draft on NFL Network who had him going in the late first. So I would have I think Watson did enough at the combine to maybe get into the second. But I do agree if you don't go in the second, he's probably a third or fourth type of guy. Jacoby Durant. Um, yeah, I would say probably 5th to 6th right now, Phil. I think he's very talented. He's gonna be a guy who is gonna be one of those like long physical corners who can play the ball well. But right now, this corner, like I said with Marquis and the other corners I've talked about, this DB class is so deep, and so I think Durant probably 5th or 6th round. Is probably where you're gonna be looking at him going, Phil. Where do you think Jatari will go? I think he has a good shot to be the first SWAC player off the board. I think Jatari can find himself in the 3rd or 4th round right there with Marquise Bell. I think they're going to be in a running for the first SWAC player drafted. Jatari had a big performance at the Senior Bowl, man. He really and truly put on at the Senior Bowl. And I think when you look at that Southern O line, the film's going to really help him in terms of run blocking because they were so good. I think the question mark is his pass blocking because they really didn't pass the ball that much at Southern. But at the combine, he really showed off some of his nice athleticism, his movement, his hip bend, things like that, and that he just wasn't a big guy who was a statue. And so I think Jatari Carter, 3rd or 4th round, is probably where you're going to possibly see him, maybe 5th if he slips. CJ Holmes, um, I think CJ Holmes is probably a 7th, maybe 6th, probably but 7th undrafted free agent right now, Paris. I just don't think when you look at the CB class, I just can't see him going any higher. So I'm gonna say probably 7th or undrafted free agent. Corey said, "Do you think Shador Sanders will become a future first round pick?" Possibly, but I'm gonna say probably not right now, Corey. I need to see more from him. He had a good year, and I'm not gonna take that away from him. You don't win the freshman of the year for the FCS without a reason. But man, I don't. I was talking with the Jackson State parent last night, and we were talking about it's so hard to be a first round pick from an FCS program. I mean, and for a quarterback to do it at the FCS, I mean, just to put it in perspective, Corey. Eric Berrier and Cole Kelly are two of the most accomplished FCS quarterbacks in the history of FCS football, and neither of them are probably going to go before the 4th round. And Eric Berrier might not even be drafted. Now Shador has a measurables advantage over Eric Berrier, but I just have a really tough time seeing him go 1st round right this second. But he could. We'll see how it progresses over these next few years. Durant 4th to 6th or free agent. Hope his height doesn't hurt him, but his speed helps. Key's probably an undrafted free agent right now, Paris. Possibly a late round pick, but I'm probably going to say undrafted free agent right now. Man, for sure, Phil. Roosevelt Sauce Gardner ran slower than I thought. Do you think that will affect his draft placement? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure. Let me hang on. I have it saved in my phone. I'm pretty sure, but he ran a 4.4. He ran a 4.47. I don't think listen, Sauce, he's my DB1. I'm just gonna say this, Roosevelt. He's a stud. And still a 4.4 is fine with me. He's longer than a lot of corners. He is just so physical and just plays the ball so well. He didn't allow a touchdown his entire career at Cincinnati. I don't think Sauce is going to be affected at all. He still ran a 4.4. So I think Sauce will be just fine. What's going on with Reggie Stubblefield? I didn't hear any news. I know he's going to the draft, Jahari, but did something happen I missed? But I mean, I think Reggie Stubblefield will be an interesting late round pick. Hopefully, man, I'll be rooting for him because he had a hell of a year at Kansas State this year. CJ Holmes, probably a free agency. CJ not getting drafted. Well, how the hell Wentz 1st round? He was as productive as Kelly or Eric B. I think Wentz also got helped by the North Dakota State factor too, Leon. In my opinion, I don't know how well it worked out, long run, in terms of the long run, but um, uh, I think he got helped by North Dakota State. I'll just put it like that. But I think Cole Kelly and Eric Berrier absolutely have better careers than him. it could happen off of just name alone. That's true. Listen, with Shador, it's so hard to project the Sanders effect, is what I'll call it, because he absolutely could go first round just because of his name. And we've seen players with, who were sons or related to top prospects get a kind of a boost. Yeah, Sauce ran a 4.41. That's right, official. So he's fine, man. The kid can fly at his size. Keontae Hampton, um, I would say probably a late round pick at best, Jay, right now, but probably an undrafted free agent right now. But I think he possibly could slide into somewhere in the like fifth, sixth, seventh round, somewhere if someone wants to take a flyer on him. Because um, I just right now, I just it's gonna be tough for some of these guys to get higher in the round just because they're FCS prospects. So I think late round for Keontae Hampton, if anything. The QB at San Fran. Yeah, Trey Lance, but Trey Lance was a freak of an athlete, and he really got helped out by just his pure athleticism. A lot of people looked at him as a project, though, and also people were just QB hungry last year. 4.7 it says. I don't know who's 4.7. I don't know who ran a 4.7 that you're talking about right now. The first two rounds of the Power Five. Don't forget USFL. That's true. There's some players who are gonna go USFL. FY Steve McNair is the most accomplished QB from the SWAC, third overall pick in '95. Yeah, I mean, I'm listen. That's why I was kind of hesitant. Listen, I'm not saying Shador can't go first round. I'm just saying right now, I don't think he projects as a first round quarterback. I mean, he's probably a top pick in terms of like second or third round right now. But I mean, that to be a first round quarterback, I need to see more than 1 year out of you. Being 6'5" helped Wentz. Yeah, he was just a prototype. Steve McNair put up ungodly numbers. That's true. I mean, listen, Steve McNair was a Heisman candidate, too. I mean, he was putting up numbers similar to like Eric Barrier and things like that. I mean, he was slinging it for around. So I don't know if you can compare him to Steve McNair just yet, but we'll definitely see because he put up some crazy, crazy numbers up there. But listen, guys, I'm probably gonna keep it running for about 5 more minutes. If you want to get your calls in, talk about any prospects, get your thoughts in on any of the topics, man, use the number on the top left. And if not, we're gonna ride out on these topics. Let's see. It all depends on that year's draft class at QB. Yeah, because I don't think, listen, this year's QBs would have probably been it's so hard to think. Maybe not Malik Willis. It's tough because I think the five QBs from last year, the first five, and Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones and Trey Lance are probably still the top five quarterbacks in this class. I don't think anybody in this class probably would have unseated any of them. Maybe Malik Willis, maybe someone who really likes Kenny Pickett. But I think the quarterbacks last year, that quarterback class was so deep, it was really hard for anyone to get up there. NDSU has two most winningest quarterbacks in FCS history. One got 0 looks in the NFL on the other one, and the other will probably be a career backup. Wentz had the physical attributes. There you go. Straight from the NDSU guy, NDSU expert's mouth. Yeah, he just had the measurables. And listen, North Dakota State has a kid on the bench. I'm blanking on his name. He was the third string quarterback last year. He might start for them this year. The kid's a stud. I think he's out in Nebraska or something like that. I'll have to do a little show on him, but he's a stud. Travis Hunter, top 10 pick. Ah, man, Jay, he hasn't played a down yet. He hasn't played a single down in college. He has top 10 pick potential, Jay. Has potential, but I would really like him to take one snap before I say he's a bona fide top 10 pick. He has top 10 pick talent, but until he steps on the field and lives up to it, I can't give him the top 10 pick. And it might be my Auburn fan in me. We had a number one overall prospect come to Auburn and start like 4 games and then transfer out. He didn't live up to the hype, and Byron Cowart out of Florida. So I'm not gonna say he's a top 10 pick right now, but he has potential to be a top 10 pick. Let's see, top prospect for the FCS and the SWAC for next year. Ooh. Next year's tough, man, because I don't know who's gonna declare and who's gonna stay. This is a good question. For the SWAC. Oh. Oh, man, this is gonna be tough. You're gonna put me on the spot, Jahari, on this one. I gotta man, this is tough. I'm gonna say Nugget for the swag, for right now. I really do think that last year motivated him. I think when you look at prototypical, um, corners coming out of FCS, I think Nugget really fits that bill. So I'm gonna go with Nugget for the swag. And for total, mm, it's probably listen, I'm gonna be honest, it's probably gonna be one of the offensive linemen from like North Dakota State who are coming out. But for the FCS, I actually really like Justin Ford. He's a corner slash safety for Montana right now, transferred in from Louisville. The kid's got the measurables. He was one of the top prospects, or the top finishers for the Buck Buchanan Award. He led the FCS in interceptions this year. Had a streak of like 10 or 11 games this year where he either scored a touchdown or forced a turnover. So I really do like Justin Ford is probably the top prospect for FCS next year, and or Xavier Gibson. I think Xavier Gibson for Stephen F. Alston at wide receiver could be an interesting prospect next year. So I'm going to go with those three guys right now. Do you think JSU's O line will be much improved? I do think it's going to be improved. Roosevelt. It's hard not to improve over allowing the most sacks and the swag. But what I think they have going for them is a little bit of chemistry, a little bit of continuity. You got Zach Bro and Evan Henry who have played next to each other, and Bro's going to be an immediate upgrade at center, and Henry's going to be an immediate upgrade at guard. And then you got the tackle Simi. You should have the tackle Tony Gray. Now you just got to figure out what you're going to do with that other guard spot. And I think two immediate upgrades at guard and center with Bro and Henry was already enough to already say that JSU's O-line is going to be improved, especially because they already know how to play with each other. Evan Henry plays with just an absolute mean streak. Watching his film, it made me excited to see what he's going to do because he just has that attitude of an offensive lineman that's going to be successful at the college level. And Bro has the experience at the center spot that JSU really lacked last year because for Shador, getting pressure up the middle forced him out of the pocket so often. And if it wasn't for his ability to make plays down the field while rolling out on the run, JSU would have been in a lot of trouble last year. So Shador bailed them out of a lot of bad situations in games last year. And this year, if he's able to sit in the pocket, have time to make the proper decision, look off defenders, etc., this JSU offense could really hit another level. So I do think they're going to be improved. NDSU's third string quarterback Cole Payton from Omaha declined offers from Nebraska and Iowa. Won a state title in Nebraska a few times. Yeah, Cole Payton actually might be the starting quarterback for NDSU. I was watching some of his film after Dave sent me his name. The kid's a stud, and so he actually might be the starting quarterback for North Dakota State this year, even over Quincy Patterson. And for some reason I'm blanking on the kids. Cam Miller from last year. So North Dakota State could have a new quarterback on another national title run. Let's see. Lance will not be a career backup, or is it someone else? Oh yeah, Easton Stick of the Chargers. Yeah, he also is from North Dakota State. Let's see. But yeah, guys. So listen, I've been trying to give y'all more live streams. Y'all said that y'all would much rather rock with the live streams than some of the recorded episodes. Stay tuned on the channel. We got some interviews coming up later this week, along with NFL draft prospect. Draft prospect. I guess I'm gonna call them highlights right now. And those are gonna be dropping this week. I've already kind of highlighted the 5 I'm gonna do. We got Trevor Penning, Christian Watson, Marquis Bell, Jatari Carter, Trevor Penning. We got some really great guys all due up. So man, make sure to support those, share the stream, like the stream on your way out. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And man, listen, can't thank y'all enough for the support. But until next time, guys, the Blue Bloods are out.